Yeah, hello and good evening to Tech Talk November 25th, 2021. Good evening, DC. How are you?
Hi, Mark. Not evening on German side, so it's the middle of the day, 12 o'clock, lunchtime.
Sorry
Hopefully,
for
a lot
that.
of people are joining this last Tech Talk in 2022.
Yeah,
Right? No,
absolutely.
2021. Then 2022 we proceed.
Absolutely. Hey, we brought a big team tonight. We've got a lot of exciting news to talk about. Not even, tech news today. Yesterday was news show. And let's welcome the whole team and see who is hiding behind the scenes. So let me switch the camera. Here we are. U-Zyn, Prasanna, Fushin. Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. How are you guys?
Oh,
Hey, we're great. Thanks for having us again.
Cool. Hey, we are
Yep, we have a really tight, action-packed presentation today on a couple of things.
Really, we said we're gonna do about an hour today, and you brought a lot of new stuff. So I would say we jump right in, guys. Who is the first one to present tonight?
So we're gonna go with three sections,
Okay.
three segments. So one, the first one will be Prasanna. He's gonna talk about updates and progress, and also on bug bounties. And Fuxing is gonna talk on our product updates. And the third one will be myself talking about basically a sneak peek on what's coming in 2022. Kind of give a projection a little bit on what's coming and some future looking stuff. And then last segment will be Q&A, and basically anyone has any question, we'll try to answer them.
Wow.
Yep.
Sounds like a lot of stuff to cover tonight. Okay, awesome. Thanks for the intro. U-Zyn, then we jump right into Prasanna's, or did you say Prasanna, you start, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd
Good.
be me. Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's nice to be back here again. Looks like last time it was had to end up pulling a terminal, so I'm determined not to do that this time and to keep it short. So, all right. So I thought perhaps we can just start with an update on the state of the network, where it is right now. Now that Fort Canning is actually out and everybody has upgraded to it. So let's jump right in and let's start out with, so the past versus the present. A lot of dots in there. So what basically this is it's the difference in the block time between each of the blocks. So that's just thrown around in the graph here. So because one of the pain points that we've been getting feedback on has always been while the blockchain average is 30 seconds, but everybody has been there where they put in a transaction, has to wait a very, very long time. Sometimes it may take up to 20 minutes. So that's something that we are looking into and progressively fixing it, or rather solving it little by little in each of the upgrades. So Fort Canning was, although the major focus was on loans, now that's out there, but the smaller ones, we've already been working on block times. And the graph on the left is the time for Unospire. It's 25,000 blocks right before Fort Canning. And then the graph on the right is 25,000 blocks right after Fort Canning. And what you're looking at here is the narrowing of that band. So which means the time frames in which each of the blocks coming in is actually now thickening, which is a really good thing. And so that's sort of the gist of it. Now here is the same thing in terms of the histogram, where we can see that now the smaller windows, the ones which are very close, you're seeing more of that. And then the larger distribution where you have to wait for a very long time, all of that has significantly reduced in Fort Canning. So that's the block time, and not just the block time. Another major thing is one of the reasons for this, even if the block time is actually good, it doesn't make a difference if those blocks are just empty blocks, right, where your transaction is actually not going in there. So again, pre-Fort Canning on the left, where we see the zero transaction block. So the left one is actually the empty block, which is sitting at, out of 25,000 blocks that we're looking at, we're seeing there somewhere around 13K plus were empty blocks. And then now post Fort Canning, we're seeing that level drop all the way down to less than around 8. So yeah, we're not done here. This is already, I think it's been about like close to a double improvement. So hopefully all of the users are also seeing this. It might not be super obvious, but then small reliability. And we'll continue to see that forward with the next one as well. So yeah, I think I started out with this because I think it's sort of a good way to say the network, once the difficulty all stabilized, it's running stable, and it's much better than what we expected and what we aimed for. So it's been a pleasant news there. So that's foot canning. And now, after comparing in the past, now just to Loans preview. Loans have been, as everybody knows, been preview since the very next day, I believe, after foot canning upgrade was out there. So as of today, of course, these numbers might be different. Maybe it hit 100. It would have been nice if from the point I created this to now it might have actually hit 100. We don't know. So, but there are, even in a preview stage, it's quite incredible. I think the community is actively trying to get things in there. Even with no rewards, people are testing it. So that's really great. So we have about 100 wallets and 1.5 million dollars worth of value already there. Even though the full shebang is not there, but more to that later. I think we'll cover that in the later presentation. Okay, there's that, and so now a couple of next things. I just want to touch a little bit on, not going to go into too much details, but just a little bit on what we are planning for the next quarter, and then a couple of how our general outlook is towards development. One of the things that I think frustrated a lot of developers as well is due to the massive changes that came in foot canning. A lot of APIs broke, and a lot of people who were using these APIs, some we didn't even know were using some of these APIs, but it was a pain point for everybody having to upgrade. So we wanted to formalize that a little bit to make sure that these are things that we can work together with the community, because after all, it is a community project. So we want to reduce that pain, and how we can follow a little bit more systematic way to these upgrades. So like versioning is, again, in the tech world, semantic versioning is very, very established technique, and it's fantastic. But one of the things is, with a blockchain like ours, where it is very intentional that we are going to have network upgrades every, almost every couple of releases. And so far, I think it's been happening every couple of months. So while we're working about it in this manner, so there's the network, and then there is the software itself, the client, and then the protocol. So because of the various components to it, Semver itself, we felt that it doesn't give us a complete solution, because at the end of the day, if Semver, the basics of it is that each of the major version, which is the main network upgrade labeled in the presentation, is going to keep bumping up for every network upgrade, or rather every hard fork. But that reduces the meaning of major upgrades, because if there are unplanned protocol upgrades or security upgrades that we have to do, that will still break everything. But then each of those, if it goes as a major release, you can't. It becomes very difficult to associate it with, okay, what is a foot canning release? What is a 2.0? What is a 3.0? So it dilutes the meaning of the actual version numbers, and it makes everything difficult to follow. So one of the things that we decided to do is adapt Semver just a little bit, where the major version is always going to indicate the main network upgrade, or that's going to be the planned network upgrade. So foot canning, which is 2.0, and then the next one, Great World, is going to be 3.0. So that when that major one happens, that pretty much all, of course, we're going to try and maintain as much backward compatibility as possible, but all guarantees are off. So people should be expected to ensure that nothing breaks. If something breaks, you have to adapt to it. So we'll, again, on time frame of this is another part of the equation. We'll come back to that in just a bit. But that's going to be about the major upgrades. And then the second one, the minor version, the one in between, is going to be particularly dedicated to unplanned or security updates. if at all, we want to make the ideal is we don't have it at all, so it just remains in zero. But it's life. We can't always aim for the ideal. So preparing for that, that's where if those updates happen, we will try. RPCs are not something that we want to try and break compatibility on that manner. So the minor ones mainly intended towards security related upgrades, similar to the emergency one that happened for Fort Canning. So that's the second one. And then third one is where we're going to keep bringing in the quality of life improvements and additional features that does not require network upgrade. So those are ones which you can blindly keep updating. So we will ensure that it doesn't break any of the RPCs or protocols. So as long as it's there, and of course that is also optional. It might have performance fixes and all of those, but if you feel like you don't need it, you can just feel free to continue. But the other two are ideal or intended to be mandatory upgrades for the network to actually function. So there's that with the release versioning clarified. Next is the cadence. Now, again, this again ties back to some of the experiences and feedbacks that we've gotten so far. It's really been disheartening. People have been broken due to these very large upgrades. So the amount of releases a year, I think, is always a nice question that everybody likes to ask. But there's a very specific reason where I've written it as end releases a year. We don't know what's the intended goal of it. I think people are free to try to surmise from the development phase. So we want to target around somewhere on the lines of 1 to 4. It could be 1, it could be 4. I don't want to go into a specific number per year, but the phases of development, I think that's what's more important. So the main development phase after each release is going to be about 2 months. At this point in time, whatever for the next release, if you're not prepared to deal with any of the things that are breaking, don't go in there. Waiting for reviews, all of those, it might be better for you to wait a little bit because this is where the crux of the development happens. Crux of the experimentation, all of that will happen by the team. So main development, approximate estimation, we expect it to go on about 2 months. And then comes a finalization phase, which is going to be where the APIs are going to be frozen and syncing with the product side, other users in the community, how they're affected, or feedback in there before we actually finalize. So that period we intended to go for around a month, where we can gather all of these. So this is a time where heavy users of the blockchain node itself can come back and look at, okay, is some of these changes that's going to affect me, and then provide have this time period for feedback as well. So before we actually get in. And after the finalization phase is going to be the testing. Again, that's going to go on for a month. That's the phase where we would love for everybody to join the bandwagon, help us test. And I don't have to talk about the community testing. I think they've done a wonderful job, and again, continuous feedback has been coming in. So really appreciate the work there. And that last month is going to be dedicated for that. So people also don't have to worry too much about the constant breaking updates before that. So they can enter into that final last, the merging of those last 2 phases, and then start looking at, okay, what is that next release going to look like? Okay, so that's the release cadence of it. Now getting into what's next. We 2.2.2, which is going to be the next one, which in the coming weeks we expect to have it's going to be a minor upgrade, quality of life upgrade. If you want to upgrade it, great. There are a number of helpful features out there, but if you don't want to, I think that you can still continue on in the 2.2.1 that's there, or 2.2. Whichever major version that you're in right now. And the key features that we are looking at for this is, one is the list vault history. This is an RPC. Right now, our focus has been just delivering the consensus so that network can upgrade all of these features that are enabled. But people using the RPC, while RPC itself is not super easy to use, but even for developers, there are a lot of things that you don't really get easy access to, like getting a specific insights on the vault. It's very bare bone right now. And so the list vault history provides a lot more insights into what's happening from particular vault's perspective. And all of these are also behind the scenes indexed, so it's going to be super fast. You don't have to keep waiting as the number of vaults grow. So it's going to provide access to all of these almost instantly. And for people who are building insights based on the vaults that are happening, it's going to provide a lot more information on what was the precise state before a vault got liquidated, and then what each of the actions are that's happening from a vault perspective. And then a couple of small helpers around estimating loans and estimating collateral. People who have used the RPC now, I think they might know that there's no straightforward way to estimate it unless you do the calculations yourself or just go and try. So it's going to be quality of releases based on that, quality of life improvements on that. And then there are quite a few performance improvements. There's already been a few in 2.2.1 where due to certain reasons, every block, all of the vaults were iterated. So that's already been improved there. We don't do it now. And there's still a little bit more work depending on the mempool. So those should help with the performance a little bit more. Again, performance I think is going to be a continuous story, which we will from this point on continue to see minor improvements along with each upgrades. And then the last one is there are also going to be some consistency upgrades with respect to the RPC. Right now, list, they're largely classifying it in some way. Many of the RPCs start with either list or get. And due to some of the previous legacy code that we also, some took in from Bitcoin and then some in early development stages, there were not a lot of consistency between them. So now we are beginning to build that consistency, but we are also trying to think of it in a way where we don't break compatibility with what's existing out there. So a lot of people who are relying on to build insights and analytics on there don't get broken. So we're introducing another additional attribute called Json Format. And that Json format, you can specify whether you want an object or you want an array. And then the current RPCs will remain exactly the way they are. But for future RPCs, list, any RPCs that start with list will default to JSON format as an array. And then anything that's get will default to an JSON format as an object. So there's a bit more consistency in how you can expect these RPCs to behave. So that's the next 2.2.2. And then comes the next larger one. It's going to be hopefully sometime in Q1 of 2022. The major feature there is going to be, I think we've already talked about it a little bit, which is going to be on-chain governance. So I won't go into detail on that. And the white paper, the pink paper there is evolving there as well. So I think people can follow there. That's going to be the large one. And then we're also planning to introduce DFDX, each of the protocols for DFDX messages to be versioned. And so that helps people deal with version breakages easier. And from the node side, it helps development. And for all the products out there, I think it adds a little bit more of predictability and determinism to the project and the protocol itself. So that's going to be another one. And along with that, we're also going to introduce an expiry for all of the transactions that go into the blockchain. The major reasoning behind it is that there are some RPCs out there, some protocol messages out there, where, for instance, pool swap is a great example, where you can put in a specific pool swap message, but it may not necessarily get validated at that point in time. But at a much later point in time, when the pool swap variables itself has changed, when the prices itself has changed, that transaction can still linger around and then go through at a later point in time. So these are something that we want to start addressing. So an expiry is going to be completely optional one that people can put into, and the node will start defaulting to a reasonable expiry for each of the transaction. But it's always going to be client. The node can specify what the expiry should be. Very similar to how the transaction fees work, for example, today, where each of the node is free to pick up its own fees and then broadcast it out there. So transaction expiry is going to be a similar concept that we are aiming to introduce in V3.0. And of course, then again, more block time improvements. I don't have much to add at the moment, but there are a lot more interesting experiments going on there to improve that far more. And the other one that we are spending time on is cleaning up a lot of the code here, bringing in more safety improvements. C++ 17, I think PRs for that are already in there, and there is a large move to continue to move, modernize our code base. And the Rust journey, which I think has been mentioned here and there, that's finally starting. So end of this year, we also start beginning to figure out, okay, what is the major one that we want to focus on for the Rust journey, and then introduce that. So this is hopefully the rough picture on it. And then, next I'll just touch upon the bug bounties really quick. So the major bounties that were handed off, and which were all community discovered for the Fort Canning cycle, was one is BTC anchor payment values. We got a community discovery where the anchors were not actually validated on chain. The nodes will set 100,000 Satoshis as the fees for whenever somebody anchors onto Bitcoin, but it was never actually validated by the node. And so that was a great catch. And then it was, it was exposed to us. And then, but one of the interesting things there was that was never the intent. The intention was not there to have a minimum fees. The intention was such that the minimum fees was above the is such so that it was actually a valid transaction. So, or to be more precise, just about BTC Dust. Anything about BTC Dust is a valid transaction. So we, in fact, ended up clarifying the intention there and then removing it entirely. So now anchor payment, there is no anchor fees as long as you set a valid any number of Satoshis above BTC Dust. You can set an anchor. And that was one. And then it was still a bug bounty because I think the impact of that was pretty large because people are now spending on anchors, and that was not the intention. And then the second one, so this was the reason that we went with the 2.2 emergency upgrade just before, I believe 1 day before the Fort Canning upgrade. So the reason for that was the update masternode RPC had a potential exploit through which anybody can, if not anybody, but anybody who can figure out how to brute force certain aspects can mine in a very highly accelerated way, which means they can continue to build their own chain regardless of what everything else is actually happening. So the key reason for that was that the staking modifier included the operator address, and then we enabled the feature for the first time to change the operator address. And but that happened without a delay, and which was, community members did a fantastic job there. So that exploit was discovered right on time. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you for that. And so basically, because it did not have a delay, people can utilize that to brute force and then continue to build. The action that we did there was we disabled all of these for Fort Canning. I know a lot of people were looking forward to the reward address, forcing reward address, and then changing the operator address, but we should have it in the next hard fork. The next one, hopefully sometime, whenever it launches in Q1. The reward address technically was not affected by it, but the reason we decided to pull all of that together was that update masternode, to ensure these sort of scenarios don't happen again, because update masternode, we want to converge all of these features into update masternode so that this is all of these security implications are handled in one place. So we don't increase the surface area for all of these. So more of these kind of scenarios can't happen. We want to minimize that as much as possible. So since we had the opportunity, we decided to not launch any of those and then take over that in the next upgrade. And I think that's about it. And as a closing note, community feedback is the ticking heartbeat. If that stops, it really does not mean anything. So thank you for that. Please keep them coming. It helps us improve a lot. And welcome to any questions.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Prasanna.
Prasanna.
Great stuff.
Might I add one quick thing before we move on to Fusing? It's just that the bug bounties, one of them were reported by Dr. Daniel Kagara as usual, a very, very active bug bounty hunter. And we actually have a new security researcher that reported another bug. So his name is Alex Andrea. I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. We're going to be updating the website to show that. So now we have two persons that's actively looking for security exploits. So that's good. Thanks for the contribution,
Great.
Alex and Dr. Kagara.
Cool. Awesome. So the security team is growing. Fantastic job, guys. Awesome. Yo, then Fuxing, are you ready? Okay.
Yep. Sorry.
So,
I was
okay.
trying to share my screen.
No worries. Let's see that we get you on the screen here. One second. Here we go.
Yep. So it's the time of the month again. So let's talk about DeFiChain products. So for November, I think this is a pretty exciting month because I think the loans is pretty much coming in. Yeah, it's coming very soon. So let me share about like what is the approach and what's the timeline moving forward. So before I jump into loans, I thought maybe I could do a bit of sharing about what is happening through DeFiScan. So most of you are aware that DeFiScan has been going through a huge iteration and going through transitioning all of our Explorer experience from the previous Explorer into this new Explorer. And today we have 9 core features, which is bring up the DEX, blocks, address, transaction, and just recently we included vaults page, which was 1 day after the hard fork, as well as improving on the oracles. So I think DeFiScan, as we intended, is to provide a scan of DeFiChain. So immediately we provide a scan of the vaults. So the vault itself is providing you the overall latest decentralized loans activity on DeFiChain. So you can look at different vaults that's happening, different status of different vaults, look at what the community is doing, look at the active loans that is being taken out of the vaults. So this doesn't just include any vaults that is the community doing. You can even look up your own vaults. You don't need your DeFiChain wallet to check out your vaults. You can actually just go to a link that is permanent, and it will provide you the details of the information like the collateralization ratio, so you can always like keep up to date of information to track your vault's health. So other than that, we also make a few improvements to the address as well as the oracles. I really appreciate the amount of community feedback on the DeFiScan. I think most of the community is brought up about improving the oracles experience. So the oracles page previously called the price page. We didn't at the time of implementation, when the price was introduced, it didn't have the capability to filtering with the loans activity. So we were busy working on loans, but once the loans was done, we have when we have the capability, we implemented the oracles page to be able to filter. So I think saying all this doesn't really mean anything, which is why I always prepare a demo. So for DeFiScan, so what I mean by the filtering is there's a lot of price, but I think the price is always in the process of by the ticker councils and getting them added to DeFiChain. So before they are added, you can see all of the prices and make up what you would like of the prices before the prices get introduced to the system. But you can also filter to see what are actually supported today. So today, before the release, so we have 4 collaterals, which is DFI, BTC, USDT, and USDC, as well as the loan token Tesla. You can filter by crypto, you can filter by stocks. So that's something new. So yeah, I think the community wants this quite a while now. I think we finally got the time to introduce this recently. So other than this Oracle, so let's talk about the vaults. I think the vaults is something that's really introduced recently. So I think from the experience itself, to sort of like let you run through about how the DeFiChain, the DeFiScan looks like. So this is a pretty ordinary blocks. So look at this, you don't really see anything, but this is actually one of the bots that's created one. This is one of the blocks page that created one of the transaction that created one of the vaults. So with this, you can actually keep a transaction ID and search a transaction ID. And now transaction ID itself also represent the VOT. So you can actually filter this and find out your VOTs. And I think this VOT has a few collaterals, which is why I selected this. So you can take a quick overview of what this VOT is at. So this is giving you a quick run through of this. So like a VOTs details page. So you can actually take a look at the amount of loans being taken out of the VOTs and the total collaterals being locked into this VOT. What is the minimum ratio and what is the total collateralization ratio now, and what is the makeup of the collaterals, and the loans being taken out on this VOT. So this really gives you a rough idea of how the VOTs page looks like today. So we are constantly making improvement to this. What you see today and what you see tomorrow might not be the same because we are always trying to make improvement and consensus to improving the design. So yeah, this is pretty much for scan. I think that being said, I will jump to what everybody's waiting for, which is DeFiChain Wallet. So Light Wallet on iOS, Light Wallet on Android. So where are we today? I can talk about what we introduced, but I think what everybody's really we can talk about what we introduced last week, which is the beta testing features and the ability to build your address on DeFi scan. But I think ultimately everybody really want to look at how loans will work in DeFiChain Wallet. So actually, just before this, I actually prepared a quick simulation environment which I created. My network is a bit buggy today, but I hope this works. So give you all a quick run through. So I prepared a simulation environment. On my left is the mobile app, and on the right is the DeFi scan to reflect the live activity of the VOTs. So for the loans itself, so with the introduction likely coming on Monday, loans will be a new tab. So loans itself, the central piece of loan is actually the VOTs. So when you talk about loans exist in a VOTs and it's being backed by collateral. So this is how the decentralized loan mechanism works. So for anything to actually work, you need to create a VOT. So for this simulation, I will create a 200% minimum collateralization ratio VOTs. So for the VOTs itself, in mainnet, it costs 2 DFI to create, so always think of that. And then when you confirm the transaction and signing a transaction, VOTs will appear on your DeFiChain wallet. So the VOTs is unique to your address, so each address can have multiple VOTs. But in this case, I will use one VOT as an example. So once you take on a VOT, for you to take on any loan, you need to first put in collaterals. So you can go into the VOT page and start adding collaterals. So a VOTs makeup is always backed by VOTs is always backed by collaterals, and for each loan that you take, you have to have at least, in this case, 200% minimum collateralization ratio. I will add DFI for this. So let's go with 10. Yeah, so in this simulated environment, everything is running on an accelerated pace. So this is what we do for testing. So just to give you a summary that transaction will happen that quickly in the mainnet. Yeah. So let me add BTC. Let's go with 1. So the VOT itself doesn't just require one collateral. So you can have multiple collaterals. So as I created this VOTs, you can actually see the VOTs being reflected on the right side. So this is the exact same page that you see. So one is on my phone and one is on the public. So you can have your own focused view of your VOTs, but everybody else can see the VOTs happening on the public network. As everything in the blockchain is public, everybody can see the transaction. But there's a anomaly to it because nobody can actually match your address to your VOTs. And only you can sign a transaction, and every transaction you make on the VOTs require authorization to make on the VOTs. So in this case, I have a 95.24% versus a 4.76% collateral VOTs. So with a 200% minimum collateralization ratio, it will allow me to take up a loan of, let's say at least about $500. But when you take out a VOT, when you take out a loan on 200% collateralization ratio, you have to always be careful about total collateralization ratio versus minimum collateralization ratio. So if you take out on a 200% collateralization ratio, if your collateral ratio is 210%, you have only a 5% margin of movement. So always be careful about this. So one that's added, let me take out a loan. So I can look for different loan tokens. So in this limited environment, I have a few things. So let me just choose DUSD for this example. And I will choose my most recently created vote and I'll borrow 5 DUSD. Let me go with 200. Just fine. So yeah, so resulting collateralization is always dynamic because the prices are always moving dynamic. So DUSD is a sort of stable, but if you are pulling in, in a simple example, if your collaterals is USDT and DUSD, your minimum collateral ratio and your total collateral ratio is always going to stay the same because that's how the mechanism of votes works, USD being the baseline. So, and if you change your amount that you take out on your loan, let's say I want to take out 1,000, you can see that I cannot take out this amount because it will result in an immediate liquidation. And I need 200%. So this will put me at a ballpark of 525. But this is very risky. Because it's right on the border of liquidation. So let's go with 200. So I'm looking at this healthy and unhealthy number here. So once you take out a loan on votes, you can actively monitor your collateralization ratio, and so it will give a very good indicator of like what is the price now and what's the price going to be in a bit. So yeah, so this is loans, and once you have that, it unlocks the new feature which is DEX. So once you have your loans, you can then use that to trade for stocks token. So in this case, in this environment simulation, I have set up another DTUSD token. So with this update, we will also be introducing composite swaps. So you don't have, if you want to swap from BTC to USDT, you usually have to go through from BTC to DFI and DFI to USDT. So right now you can jump the loop and directly swap from BTC to USDT if there's a matching pair to jump across. So this is composite swap. So in this case, I will swap my DUSDT to BTC. Yeah, so even though there isn't a pair for this, but you can do it now. Yeah, so this will apply for stock tokens as well. So if there's a stock token pair, so in this case, I have a stock token pair TS25, I can swap this around. Yeah, so this pretty much summarize what you will see in the coming week. And this is decentralized loan. So, and yeah, I guess before I end off this, do you have any questions about how the loans will work?
Cool.
Yeah, so there was one question in the chat, if there's a kind of alarm function so that my wallet will give me a notification if I'm running into a liquidation.
Yes, so there isn't one, but I would say that this is something that I guess we have to wait for the community to. Because for DeFiChain wallet, for a non-custodian experience, it is us saying that we are not tracking your assets. So if you want us to track your assets, that is a different story. So for DeFiChain, we are implementing everything in a non-custodian manner. We don't even know your private key. We don't know anything. We only provide the infrastructure for you to access your vaults. But if you want to be aware of your transaction, you have to track your transaction, and this requires us to actively know you and know your address. So which is why if you want to know a lump kind of system, I think you have to constantly subscribe to the vaults. So yeah, I think this is something that I think I was looking forward to community projects building it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also a CFP of the current voting round wanting to implement such a function. Yeah. So that one out, asking the question, have a look on the proposals. I don't remember the title, but they are still working on it. So they are the developers of Masternode Monitor. They want to provide a page tracking your vaults and the current state. So it's in progress, I think.
Absolutely.
Right, Dobby.
That's it.
Yeah.
I have a quick question regarding taking out the loan and the collateral, right? So you added, let's say, 10 DFI and 1 Bitcoin. There has to be a certain ratio between these two collateral coins, right? Can you, Fuxing or U-Zyn or whoever, maybe quickly explain what the ratio of the different coins has to be? Because there has to be a certain backing by DFI, right? Without DFI, no loan at the end of the day. Is this correct?
Yes.
So maybe, Fuxing, go ahead. Yeah.
So for all of your votes, you need to have at least 50% DFI. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for that you have percent DFI followed by 10% BTC followed by 10% USDT and 30% USDT. As long as you have 50% DFI, you can have any makeup of your collaterals. So in this example, I have a 95% DFI versus a 4.7 BTC ratio. So as long as you have a minimum of 50% DFI, you can take out loans.
Okay.
So this is only checked at the taking out loans part of the consensus.
Okay, so
if you were to deposit,
you can load your vault with whatever you want. Only in a moment when you take out the loan, it's actually checking is enough DFI there to give you the loan that you want, right? Okay, get it.
Yes.
Awesome, cool. So okay. I see no other questions regarding your presentation. Then we can change to.
I have I think last part. So
you have one more. Hey, I thought you were done. Okay, let's.
I totally forget about the roadmap. So for the decentralized loan, so what we aim to have on 30 November, which is the coming Monday, Tuesday, is what you see as I showed you just now. So auctions will come slightly later, by the end of 2021, probably 1 week from this release date or 2 weeks from this release date. Concurrently, we are also working on the Light Wallet. If you all have seen the GitHub itself, you can actually created a preview build of it, as well as for the browser extension wallet. So we have both concurrently, the desktop Light Wallet in preview and the browser extension wallet in preview using the mobile experience. And in 2021, we're looking to have all of that experience in all of the different platforms by then. Yeah, and continuously DeFi scan improvement and DeFiChain wallet improvement will always continuously make towards the end of 2020. I think there's a small typo here.
Okay, yeah. Fuxing, short question. If the loan auction on Light Wallet is coming end of 2021, if there is a liquidation, how is the auction then working for the liquidation in the meantime?
So the features, so the same thing that is happening now. So any liquidation event that's happening, I think so far we have at least 2 that is happening on the mainnet. You can actually use the full node to run the commands and actually bid for any auctions in the meantime. Yeah.
Okay.
Good. So let's hope there isn't any huge amount of liquidation events in the first week. So yeah.
let's see. We had one. The highest was $4,000, right? So far.
More.
Or was it more? Was it
I think a couple are also split into several parts because there's a limit. Or U-Zyn, there's a limit of the liquidation part.
10. Yeah, so every batch is about 10K worth. Yeah, there's one that I think got liquidated in the 2 batches, so that's more than 10K.
Nice. So somebody got
pick up command line,
cheap.
Lord Mark.
Yeah, I'm really missing out. I see that already. Yeah, better go back to work. Cool. Hey, Fuxing, that's awesome. I mean, the first time that I saw how this works, if Prasanna could get the whole thing up to speed like you showed it, like in the accelerated version, it would be also even more awesome. But it looks super simple. It looks super simple to me. Great job, guys. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm really happy to see that. I was really worried it's gonna be so complicated. Yeah, fantastic. Silence, everybody like shocked.
Yeah.
Or do you see what you think? Looks
I think-
awesome, right?
To be honest, I expected something like that. So that just a few clicks and you can change your walls and loans.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to Monday. How it works then on the mainnet. Yeah. Okay. So.
Good. U-Zyn, you're next.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm just gonna do a quick
Okay, let me
walkthrough
switch
or
the-
sneak peek on 2022.
Here you are. Okay, great. Let me get
Right,
you
here we
in
go.
the middle.
And
Yep, so we're
bottom
coming up
of
to the hour.
screen share. Just a second, Mark. The bottom of the screen share a little bit is missing, maybe.
The bottom, let me see if I can. Okay, hold on a second. U-Zyn
It's probably
screen.
okay. I don't think we're
Probably
missing much. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
No.
better? Okay, great.
Thank you. Right, let's go. Yeah, we're coming up to the hour, so yeah, just nice for us to close this with a sneak peek on 2022. Yeah, first up, on-chain governance. So we've been talking about that. So it's gonna start on the next release. So it's gonna start with DFIP and CFP that we've been doing it on GitHub for the last couple of cycles now. Hopefully the next one, if not the next second one, will be on-chain governance. And it will be an automated voting process about every 1.5 month, no 1.5 blocks, 1.5 month, like our current process, so about 130K blocks. It's going to happen like clockwork all the time automatically. No one has to trigger anything. It's all on-chain governance. So the masters just have to vote every 1.5 month. And yeah, everything, even the payout is going to be automated. And the cool thing about this on-chain governance payout is that it supports tranche payout. This, I think, makes a lot of sense for larger projects. So you can ask for a larger upfront, let's say, commitment or approval for larger projects, and then pay out like 10K every month, for example. Let's say ask for 100K, let's pay out over the next 10 months, or over the next 10 cycles for 10K every cycle. And yeah, so it's easier for the community to approve that, and it also makes it more accountable as well. So if the community is deciding to pull off that further payout, they can still vote for that to be down, and that could close further payout. Obviously, you can claw back, but you can close further payout. So it makes it easier to build bigger projects, and that's what we want for DeFiChain, for everyone to build bigger projects. And I can see with some of the earlier CFPs or some community members are asking for a larger chunk and hoping that it can be funded, and then there's some disruption in the middle, and then that makes it harder to build larger projects. So it's going to be cool. Yeah, an ETA for this is going to be Q1 2022. I'm going to be a bit more careful on the ETA part because our blockchain is getting really, really big now, especially with involving a lot more users, a lot more money now, much higher market cap now, and much higher TVL as well. Everything is coming with a lot of things at stake now. That everything has to be done very, very safely and very, very securely. So yeah, it's gonna get harder and harder to implement things in the future. For example, like POS, proof of stake, for example, like on Ethereum, it's taking so long to implement because of the amount of money that's at stake there versus other like newer blockchain where yeah, you don't have to take that long to implement it, for example. Yeah, so we're getting there now, and thanks for everyone's support. And on-chain governance it's not going to end on this release. There are more and more on-chain governance going to come for future releases. Like for example, Ticker Council, that it's an interim solution that will eventually be absorbed into part of the on-chain governance over the next future releases. This will be kind of like the pattern that the DeFiChain will do for newer things. So take time to understand how it works, and then bake it into on-chain governance, and then let it grow just like how blockchain should be, completely decentralized. Yeah, and the next coming few things, I think we talked about this, but still just to iterate that we don't forget about it, and we definitely want to get there as well. So one of the key things about stocks token or loan token that people have been talking about is that how can we arbitrage them, because you only have DEX to buy and sell. If it's like underpriced, you buy on the DEX, you have to stop at the same price of the DEX, so you can't really arbitrage that. So futures will allow arbitrage of stocks token. If it's underpriced, you can buy it on the DEX and then wait to capitalize it when it closes on a future date. So I think this will be quite interesting for stocks token, introduce a lot more interaction and a lot more strategy on how people can use all these stocks or loan tokens on DeFi chain. And yeah, NFT, I think it's a DeFi that's put it there for a while now. A lot more things take precedence because we want to get DeFi first. But I think NFT has grown so much in the space, and it's very, very active community involvement in building so many NFTs right now for DeFi chain, even without a blockchain support yet for NFT. And yeah, it's a bit like it's really happy that we have that very vibrant NFT community among DeFi chain users. But at the same time, we're also a bit sad that it's happening on the other blockchain, like on Ethereum and on other blockchains. So it could have happened on DeFi chain. So NFT on DeFi chain, we should have it sooner rather than later. And NFT, it's gonna be really good because it creates a ton of user generated content, and there's even possibility of someone creating a DeFi chain metaverse, right? So see the trend there, like CIP, they can ask for bigger projects, and an NFT metaverse. So someone please put in a proposal to build a metaverse for a DeFi chain with a larger CIP. That would be awesome. Yeah, so NFT, I think we'll see a lot more interaction. So that's going to be pretty cool. And yeah, futures, it's part of options. Yeah, it's another thing that we've been talking about for a while. It's part of pink paper. It's still on the roadmap that we want to do it. And the way that we imagine the future options on a pink paper is that it will be quite unique, that you can kind of like a yield mine option as well. So that's quite interesting on the whole interaction part. So yeah, let's see. And on the product side, I mean, Fuxing has talked about that. Just to iterate as well on a high level, what's coming on the product side, desktop light wallet, that's gonna come, and desktop full node wallet. It has been, I mean, we still have a full node wallet, but for example, like new features for loan is not gonna be there. The reason is because it's going to be migrated to a more stable environment, a more stable code base that allows us to expand in a safer manner. So desktop full node wallet is going to come next. And it's very important for DeFi chain, for blockchain. Like things should be decentralized. And I think we're one of those projects out there that have so many full node sitting out there in the world that a lot of even larger blockchains don't even see that. A lot of them are basically a few larger players are running those nodes. But we're really thankful that a lot of our users, I mean, the user of DeFi chain and everyone, it's actively building and actively running a full node wallet. So this is very important for us to continue to build in this space. Yeah, Atomic Swap UI, I mean, it's not forgotten. There has been multiple. It has been tackled for a bit, and then okay, we got to put it on hold because we have this loan token that's coming up. We should focus on that. It will. Team will get back to that. So it's not forgotten. It's still there. Atomic Swap is still there. There's still the Bitcoin swap that's happening. There's still some people using it in a small amount just to try out. I think UI is still going to be key to allow for active usage. So it's not forgotten. It's still coming up. Hardware wallet support, it's also very important. We're at this juncture where DeFi chain is worth, I mean, yeah, soon it's going to be worth $50, right? Everyone's saying that. It must be true. So hardware wallet is very important. And another key thing is enterprise adoption for DeFi chain will require multi-sig infrastructure. It technically supports multi-sig right now, but in order to use it in an enterprise environment, it's going to take a lot more effort to use it properly. So multi-sig infrastructure for DFI and DSD will also be part of the roadmap for 2022. All of this is we're at this stage there. It's becoming more and more serious now. So a lot more safety things has to be in there to support all this future growth of DeFi chain. Yep, and not forgetting EVM. There's a DFIP currently undergoing voting right now. If it passes, then EVM will be part of the roadmap for DeFi chain, and so there will be a. I hope I don't. I hope I don't say this wrong. So there will be a new node that is built on Rust, and it's going to be based on the best practices and improved testability. So it's going to be 100% compatible with existing native DeFi transactions. So EVM is going to be built on top of that, and it's way more modern code framework and allows the whole node to scale to extend in the future in a more safe manner. I mean, it's good that we're based on Bitcoin, but Bitcoin code base has been more than 12-year-old now, so there's a lot of dated things in there. And you can see that Prasanna also presented just now that the team has also done a lot more improvement on the C++, like the pattern and features that are in there in the code right now. It's becoming quite dated now. And with EVM cross-chain support, and also with the CFP of Dino Figueroa, so hopefully the cross-chain support will happen sooner rather than later, because that's also very important for DeFi chain to be a part of the global DeFi ecosystem out there. That's largely happening on EVM blockchains today. I think that's kind of like the 2022, kind of like a sneak peek on what's coming up. I know it's nothing new, but it's to pack it, to also revise, to update everyone on what is there to come. I'm pretty much really looking forward to Action Pack 2022. You can see the whole thing, the whole environment, product side, DeFi scan, wallets, and blockchain code base, and even release cadence, and all these are please, I'm not. Can you bring up the slide again? I still have slides to go. So I mean, it's getting more and more mature now. So you can see it's all looking really good for us to have 2022. So I do have one more thing. I mean, we're not at the end of 2021 yet. We're at the last show of 2021 for Tech Talk, but we're not at the end yet. We're still waiting for decentralized loans and tokens to be activated and to be used, and I'm still really curious on how it's going to look like on the interaction. I'm really looking forward to the end of November and December to see the increased usage of DeFi chain. So road to 50. Looking forward to that. That's it. Thanks.
So nothing more. That's it. Okay.
Nothing more. No.
Sorry for that. Awesome.
No
so
problem.
Many things to come. U-Zyn, we've got a question from one of the viewers here. Maybe we can flash that quickly. I think it's an interesting one. Somebody says, a personal opinion of all the devs here in the talk today. One positive and one questionable aspect each for EVM. Somebody asks pros and cons. Maybe everybody can give a short statement. Prasanna, Fuxing, U-Zyn.
I guess I guess the pros will definitely be a lot more extended to join into the whole larger DeFi ecosystem. But the con would be, okay, we've been talking about native DeFi for so long, and now we are actually joining the larger bandwagon of having a full virtual machine on the blockchain. So I think for DeFi chain, it's gonna still have both worlds. It's not eliminating the native DeFi side. So it will weaken a little bit on our native DeFi voice out there, but still maybe instead of weakening, it can actually be strengthening as well, because you can experiment on EVM and then build it on native DeFi for added security.
Cool.
All right, so I guess I'll go next. I think at the end of the day, whoever goes first would have answered exactly what U-Zyn answered here. But yeah, I'll try to go with another perspective. Okay, so the other perspective I would take a look at both advantage as well as disadvantage is, I think the challenge of it from the development side. Since I share everything that I share the view that everything that U-Zyn shared. Beyond that, I think it's going to be both the positive as well as the negative, because positive is the challenge of it, right? So it's fun to take that on, but the negative of it again is we are deviating from native DeFi, so we have to be extremely cautious on how do we incentivize the native DeFi, and then how do we continue to bring all of this on board while doing so, and the security implications of it. So building that framework around it and then evolving slowly is going to be an incredible challenge.
A lot of work for you guys, for sure. It's not going to be an easy one, right?
No.
Fuxing, do you want to say something to the EVM story? What's your feeling about it?
I would say from a developer's perspective, I guess it's pretty exciting, especially in terms of like the possibility, because when you talk about coding, you're talking about in terms of a Turing complete environment. But if you also talk about coding, you also talk about the amount of edge cases you have in a Turing complete environment. So there's always that. And I guess if there are so many available, so many from a product perspective, especially there are so many possibilities with EVM, then how much user experience are we going to create for all of those user experience? It's going to be immense. So I guess my thought is the con is much more work on the product side.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. So one of the cool things is people are talking about notifications, right? So if you have EVM, you can build that in a decentralized manner.
Yeah.
Right. So those are the possibilities that will open up.
Okay, so it makes everything so much easier at the end, right?
Okay. Then maybe another question from Dominic. I think it's regarding the liquidation. Could the tranche also be in USD value based on the Oracle for DeFi USD?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. It's currently in DeFi. Maybe since we haven't upgraded yet on the blockchain, maybe we could think about making that a possibility as well. But we'll see. Have to discuss with the blockchain team and see if that can be done.
Okay.
Also in a timely manner is also another key thing.
Okay. There's another question from Andreas Neuhertz. He asks, when you run the auction on your full node, do you need the coins also on your full node wallet? Is that correct?
Not sure I understand the question entirely, but so in order for you to bid on an auction, you don't need to have any relation to the vault. So as long as you have the funds, you can just bid on the auction from any full node wallet. So I don't know if that helps answer that question, but at the end of the day, blockchain, the products are, they are a window into the blockchain, right? That's what they are. So the product side, even if some of the features, because for product side, always features are going to be evolving. So on the blockchain side, you can take it up. The one small difficulty is due to the wallet compatibility. If you need some feature set which requires that particular address, then that's going to be a bit of a challenge at the moment. But beyond that, since auctions that don't really have anything to do with your particular address, there shouldn't be anything that stops you.
Okay, awesome. I found another one, a quick one. Somebody said, I think this is about changing the collateral in the vault. If he sets up a vault with 50-50, and then can he change after the collateral, after he got the loan, is a change in the collateral possible? I think that's the question.
Fuxing, you want to take that?
So from my understanding, so the question is, once you take out a loan on a 50 minimum DFI ratio, you can continuously add more collaterals to that vault. But if you were to perform any mutating actions that will paying back a loan is one of the mutating actions. Taking out more loans is one of the mutating actions to the vault, and withdrawing from the vaults is also one of the mutating actions. So those will cause the validation check on the 50%. And the 50% is always dynamic, so it's always moving. So you can technically perform it on a 49%, on a 50% ratio, and when you were to perform it, it dropped to 49, and you will be blocked by validation on the sequence.
So, short answer is you can change the. Sorry.
Yeah, that's sorry. Ultimately, if you are taking a loan, at that point, you need to have 50% DFI. And then if you're withdrawing from the vault, again, it needs to be 50% of the vault.
Right.
It needs to be beyond that. Yeah, you're free to do whatever you want.
Yeah. So you can change the ratio below this 50% just by adding collateral, right?
Yeah.
Any
overall
other
vault,
option
yes.
is over the vault. Yeah. So any other action is not possible, because then you will check if you have this 50% DFI part.
Good. Okay. Yo, DC, do you see another question that we didn't answer yet, besides some marketing question that we're not gonna discuss today? Cool, guys. Awesome, fantastic. I'm really hyped. I don't know how you guys feel, but I have seen this the first time. It looks so simple, and I think everybody was looking forward really to see this in action. I can't wait to get my hands on the Light Wallet. Hopefully all gonna work out with Apple, and they're gonna list our application on time.
Yep.
And yeah, hey, so much thanks for being here tonight at the last Tech Talk 2021. And then I hopefully see you all again in 2022 in January, in the first Tech Talk, end of January.
Yeah. With a big pool of stock tokens, hopefully.
Cool. Guys, thanks for your hard work and thanks for the support. And I think everybody out there is going to have a nice Christmas. And let's run to Road to 50. Let's make that happen. I think we've got the tools now, the text there. Now it's all about spreading the good word out there and bringing more people in and growing the ecosystem like crazy, that we reach our goal together pretty soon. Thanks everybody out there for watching tonight. If you see the recording, leave us a comment and a like there. We're going to answer some of the questions, of course, even later. Otherwise, guys, see you in the next talk 2022. Have a nice evening. Thank you and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.